Welcome, Adamo Screnci, to the podcast, The Hydrogen Leader. I'm very excited to have you here.
I'm very excited as well. I'm very happy to be with you today and to spend some time with you.
We met last November in Dubai at the DII Leadership Conference, a big conference where important people met in the hydrogen industry and the sector. And we had side talks, and I know that you are a very impactful professional where we can learn a lot. We learn here from insights of these professionals, why they became so successful, and what they see about the market. You just recently have now a new position in the IDEC Group. So, what is your position there?
Yeah, thank you. I was very happy as well, to meet new people in the II because this is a very strong community that is making things changing. It started some years ago there. My new position since the beginning of the year in IDEC Group, I am managing director of IDEC Italy to develop the business in Italy because IDEC is mainly focused on France. It's a medium-sized company, 600 people, 500 million euro turnover, but wanted to expand internationally, and I am also managing director in all the company of the group for the energy, because energy is one of the leading um, and important topic we need to manage in terms of real estate and also building. So energy has been seen as an important a way to develop the business.
Yeah, I followed you over the years, and you have worked for many companies in the hydrogen economy as well. So please share a little bit of insight. So who is Adamo Screnci?
Adamo Screnci. Sometimes I try to recall that. My name cannot hide that I am a little bit Italian by origins, but I was born in the north of France, Lille. And sometimes I say, why there? Because I am really in my DNA, energy is one of the driver. I was born in Lille because at that time after the war, the north of France, the north of Germany, the north of Europe was having some key resources, energy, coal at that time. And Italy was not having any coal. So it was a kind of agreement between the countries that you send the France and the Belgium can send coal to Italy to make energy out of that. But in um, in uh, in the other way, Italy should send the workers to go and find the coal. So my father came in north of Italy because of energy, and I really love energy because this is the basis of every society. Because with energy, you develop industry and you develop jobs, and you grow. So I really like the comparison to that. So that's where I start. So I start from that point of view. But this does not explain why I had the opportunity to develop in the energy business. Luckily, when I studied electrochemistry in the end of the 80s, and electrochemistry at that time was a very small amount of people were working on electrochemistry. It was related to chloralkali and aluminium. These were the main two business. But nowadays, electrochemistry is so very important because it can make the link between electricity and chemicals. And we see that we need more of this technology to develop uh, power to something, the power to liquid, the power to gas, which make the connection between two different networks. So I work in electrochemistry as a simple engineer, I would say, on the big chloralkali plant. Then I learn what is electrochemistry, and I make also additional training on MBA and INSEAD, and I work in different companies. What I like is really to have an impact. So I went in Air Liquide, then Total, then ThyssenKrupp to develop Nucera, and recently I was in Maire in Italy to develop the technology division of Maire. And what I like also is to have an overview of the energy, not only the hydrogen. Hydrogen is part of the energy landscape. And what can we do with hydrogen?
And I think you also made contributions to associations, like you were in the early days with Hydrogen Europe. You are now also a board member of the DIA. So I think that when I looked at your resume, I asked myself, okay, how many hours is this guy working? I'm fully loaded with one job. So it's really impressive where you are active. Yeah. And so I understand also that that this energy is where you have your passion. Yeah. So you want to make the world a better place with energy. Would you buy into that, or what is your real passion?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Coming to the root, I told you the explanation of
Yeah.
energy that is the basis. But and also I spend a lot of time in going to schools. I was at the initiative of Hydrogen Europe, but also a part of Hydrogen Council, MENA Hydrogen Alliance, all this stuff. I was also in China, in Japan, because I like very much. And still now I'm launching several think tank to brainstorm because I want to give our children of and the young people from our generation in Europe a future, an idea that it can be good, it can be better. When we were young, we were not asking anybody. It was a grow development, and today all the young people are saying, where should I go? What should I do? What is going to be the job of tomorrow? So to try to give them the opportunity, and I like it very much to be with young people, not only with my kids, but also with the friends of my kids. Every time I had the opportunity, I like to explain and give power and give energy. And then not this energy like the coal or the gas, but energy to be ambitious, to be entrepreneur, because then it's going to be positive. So I like it very much. I spend a lot of time in doing that because I think this is the best result of what we can do.
Yeah, it's a way to give back, right? To build platforms where others can thrive and inspire. Yeah, great. So, and I think also in your career you were always having leadership positions, right? And probably a lot of hard decisions to take. So, as this is a leadership podcast, I also wanted to ask you a little bit about your leadership philosophy. So, how would you describe your leadership style? How do you lead organizations?
Yeah, leadership, it's not only leadership and leading organization. There is a kind of mechanical answer to that, leading organization.
Mhm.
There's some kind of mechanical. I like also the word leadership in terms of uh, uh, being my role, my style is more to listen a lot. Listen,
Mhm.
listen, listen more than talk. Uh, just for fun, I give my mom says you have one mouth and you have two ears, so you need to listen twice compared to what you talk. So this is a principle I like to apply, and to be curious always. Not to get from for
Mhm.
granted everything that is told. I am also an engineer, so I like to go deeply
Mhm.
in the explanation. And this is what maybe made my strong position because I understand and you understand the technology.
Mhm.
I understand when you talk about all the processes. Not to be an expert, but I really understand. I am an expert more in the hydrogen and all the energy, but I like to understand and to turn it as a positive business case. It's not negative to make business case because the fuel of the economy is money. And if you don't have money, if you don't create value for something or for something else, it doesn't work. So I like to understand. I am listening a lot. I am very curious. And I like also the challenge. I like when people say it's complicated. It's going to be complicated. It's going to be difficult.
Mhm.
I like it. I'm not a manager. I am something that is
Mhm.
going to have an impact. So this is where I like my style. That's why most of the time when I join company, I really push a lot at the beginning, challenge everything at the beginning, and make the big change to create an impact in a short period of time because I've been able to absorb a lot of things, a lot of technology, a lot of understanding, and to transform that for the good of the company, which can be different from one company to another. What is good for Total was different for ThyssenKrupp or for Air Liquide or for Maire, because you need to work on your legacy and what is strong for you. And same for country. I've been participating in different roadmap for different country. What is good for Germany is not good for France and vice versa, and for Italy, several. Just a small story. When I was in Australia to make the subsidiary of ThyssenKrupp, and people say, "Oh, Adamo Screnci, Italian, but a French passport working for ThyssenKrupp, a German company." But there in France and Italy and Germany, of course, you are using the same technology for energy. Of course not, because we have different route, different story, and different power. We need to work with what we have good. And this is important to analyze quickly and find what is the best and what could be the optional to develop. And same for company. Company are totally all different.
So is your leadership style also a little bit disruptive? Because why am I saying this? I once worked with in a department, and the leader of that department wanted to make a change, and he draw the new organizational map, and he said, "This is it." And then I said, "Hey, you need to take care about the transition." And he said, "No, if you want to make change, you need to make change fast. Otherwise, you will never make the change." Is that also your
No, not
idea of?
not at all. I told you I listen a lot, I digest a
Okay.
lot, analyze a lot, and you make the
Okay.
transition, not a revolution. You know, we know we are very good at making revolution in France, but it was not so nice. So revolution is not good, and we need transition. That's why you need to understand also the time that is possible for the company, the
Mhm.
time that is possible for a country. You know, it cannot be a revolution. I don't like the word revolution because it has a big impact on the organization. So I'm not, as you said, you know, you need to embark people. You need to make understand. And as soon as you explain, and when the explanation is more important, because the example you took, if you have no explanation, people will not join. So you need to make
Yeah.
people join because we are people. You know, everything is relying on people. So you need to do that,
Yeah.
and when you explain, then it works. And you have to explain it in a simple way, not in a complex way. And this is sometimes
Yeah.
the most difficult for leaders because sometimes the leaders they have it in their head, they understand, they know what they want to do, but there are difficulties in making understandable for the large community of the people. Uh, because it's like that, you know.
Yeah.
And sometimes this is where, when you want to be fast, you lose time. When you want to be too fast,
So you see yourself more as a knowledge hub where people can make use of your wealth of experience to be faster, to pull the right strips at the right time, and that's basically the offer that you have to an organization to empower them with all the experience that you have gained over the years, right?
Absolutely. You know, when you say different leadership position, also bring to me a big network, big
Yeah,
understanding of what is going on the world. And sometimes, you know, you can solve a problem in 5 minutes where other cannot have the connection. You know, the
exactly.
world is made of connection.
Yeah,
The pyramidal world is disappearing. You know, it's a network. Network is more
yeah,
powerful than pyramidal rules. Again, going back to your example, it's not because the boss decided that you are going to do this. Is a past
old
way of
style.
doing.
Yeah,
Or,
yeah,
of course, you need a structure, you need an organization, but networking is much more important. Networking,
yeah.
find the information, share the information, give the information, and the knowledge. This is where I like. We create also the Clean Business Club, which is a kind of knowledge sharing where people meet together and share and what has been good there in India, in China, in Australia. So
Where
you
is
can
this? Where can
we
we
are
find
based
this
locally. It's
clean?
another way. You can find CBC,
Okay,
CBC
okay,
Clean
okay,
Tech.
great.
It's another organization. I'm part of it,
Hmm.
and it was it started from the solar because at the end also this is a funny story. People say, but solar, yes, but oil is made from solar. Huh? At the
Hmm.
beginning.
Hmm.
Wind is made of from solar because
Yeah,
different temperature of air created the wind, and it's because of solar. So everything is coming from the sun. So I really believe the
yeah.
sun is the basis of everything, and then after that you can develop. And solar shows the last days that is going to be very competitive in a lot of
Hmm.
places of the world. And as soon as you invest in solar power plant, you are only capex. You understand what I mean? It's only a
Hmm.
capex. And then
Yeah.
you can have almost free energy. I don't say free because you need to amortize your capex, but you have no variation, no geopolitical strengths on that because it's only capex. And it's a different point of view where you're comparing to the cost of a barrel of oils and the fluctuation on the market.
Yeah, and what I found, let's say, very inspiring from the solar industry is when it started, it was also too costly. And now we have a situation that after 30 years, when everything is scaled up, it's more or less a no-brainer. And I hope that we get there with the hydrogen economy as well.
I can tell you, I was in 2000. I was very much involved in solar PV production, solar cells, heterojunction, monocrystalline, etc. Because I was working on that silicium path for semiconductor. I say solar will come sometime. 2000, 2000, and everybody say crazy, doesn't work. It's too
Yeah.
expensive. I make the comparison. In 2000 in France, solar was 600 between 600 and 700 euro per megawatt hour.
Yes. That's
So
different
everybody
now.
say doesn't work. Today it's
Yeah.
40 in France
Yeah.
and it's 10 in the Middle East.
Yeah.
You can see
Exactly. Yeah. It's
the
crazy.
trends. The problem, the drawback of that, being 100% capex, you can amortize your costs and very competitive, is that you do not control the source. And that's why in
Yeah.
2000, I really think about hydrogen because you cannot control the production of your energy and you need something to store and to transport. Because I believe also what makes the big success of oil, it's not that it's almost free. First, it's almost free. You drill something and you find oil, and you don't pay for the thousands years, the earth to produce it. But the big
Mhm.
value, the biggest value from my point of view is the where and when. I will explain you where and when. It's more important than the what and what it is. Because you can, with oil, you can transport energy where you want. And you can
Yes.
avoid this kind of energy migration. That was an example. You know, you can bring the energy where you need and you can use when you need. So this is a
Yes.
big value. You don't care about, I want energy at 11 p.m., 1 a.m., whatever. You can have it when you want because storing oil is almost zero and transporting oil is almost zero. And with the sun, to do the same service, you need to go to chemicals. And this is where hydrogen came into my mind in the year 90s. Say, oh, we can transform the electricity and the electrochemistry, electricity to chemical and make chemicals that you can store and you can transport easily. Much more or less easily because ammonia, methanol, SAF are easier to transport than hydrogen because it's a light molecule. But you can go to the chemical business, which is a huge market because electricity is only 20% of our energy. The rest is still all chemicals and everything.
Is that why I have seen you in several interviews before that you use the term hydrogen is a vector?
Yes.
Can you explain that to our audience? What do you mean by that?
Hydrogen is the most abundant atom in the earth, but it's always linked to something.
Yeah.
Alone, you don't find hydrogen. We are talking about a small quantity potentially of
Mhm.
white hydrogen, but we don't know.
White
And
hydrogen.
yeah, but this, there's no proof of that and the stability of that because hydrogen is not stable alone.
Mhm.
It has been linked to two major atoms: oxygen, and you have a lot of water because hydrogen and oxygen make water, and you have a huge quantity of water, or carbon, and you have all the hydrocarbons. And so hydrogen alone does not exist. It's not a source of energy. It's just a vector of energy,
Mhm.
transforming one energy to another and to make other services. And the option I believe will come more and more ultimately is producing from electricity that is zero CO2. Can be sun,
Mhm.
can be wind, can be hydropower, can be also nuclear. There is also the discussion about nuclear in
Yeah.
some area. And nuclear is not something that we need to hide because we need more energy. So it's also a potentiality. So this make hydrogen as a vector, and then with this hydrogen, you can rebuild all the oil business. Make first ammonia, methanol, fuels, and also going to polymers. All the polymers and rebuild all that stuff. And this is
Yeah.
why it's only a vector.
Yeah. Okay, great. So now let's get a little bit more specific. Thank you for sharing this, Adamo. You just acquired an important new role at IDEC. It was quite surprising for me to see basically a hydrogen guy. I think it's fair to call you a hydrogen guy, now working for a bigger real estate group. Can you explain your move, please?
I know IDEC since maybe 10 years because, I am an hydrogen guy maybe, because this is my first flag and my most important flag. I like it, but I like the energy, as I told you. And hydrogen is part of the energy. And the real estate buildings, they consume a lot of energy. They
Yeah.
consume a lot of energy to produce it. And especially when you use it, you know that 40% of the energy is in the usage, in the OPEX of the building. It's a lot. And the
Yes.
quantity of emission and all that stuff. So the leadership of the CEO and of IDEC, Patrice Lafargue, is very visionary, guys. It's a family company, so it's very visionary sometimes because it doesn't look at the stock market, the value of the company, etc. In attain 0 6 months, like we do usually when you are listed. So he's looking at the visionary, and he started investing when I met him some years ago in all initiatives related to hydrogen, but also to battery. He invests in Vercors in France, which is a huge project developing batteries. So all this solar PV production, etc. So he is very entrepreneur, of course, and he grew the company. And he said, Adamo, please join me to accelerate the transition and not to make a revolution, find a good opportunity and to make a smarter building. Because also I believe the building, 20 years ago, when you start to build something, you say, okay, this is a building, this will be the square meter, this is the energy I will need, this is the water I will need, this is the heat I will need, and full stop. You are just a consumer. The situation is evolving with a consume actor. I don't know how to tell it. The building will be in the middle of something, a network. You can produce and you can give to the grid, you can give to other application. In a building, you're going to charge vehicles, electric charging, etc. You can produce hydrogen, you can produce heat as well at some period of the time, and this heat can be used in another way. And also, we don't talk only about private building, but also industrial building. We are very strong in platform, logistic, etc., where you have trucks that are coming, so they could recharge. You have also PV on the roof that you can produce electricity and you can store it. And you're also producing more heat in your business, in your building, that you can give to neighbors. So it's going to be a network of exchange of utilities, I would say, energy, heat, and water.
And the main business model of IDEC is basically to create concept for these smart buildings and then to own them, or do you build them and sell them to real estate investors? What is the main focus?
I found it also, it's a kind of unique. I don't know all the company, but the building business has been for a long time. So it's very,
Yes.
very specialized. And
Yes.
IDEC wanted to avoid the silo, and
Hmm.
they are really from the beginning promoting engineering, developing, finding the solution, consulting,
Yeah.
and also owning and renting.
Mhm.
So, the whole value chain. So you can be really responsible. I'm sure you experience in your life some story with buildings. So it's not my fault. I made what
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
engineer told me to do. And the engineer, so I did it, but the guy that produced it was not good, right? Etc. So you have the full responsibility. And this is kind of unique. A
End
little
to
bit
end, basically.
end to end, and also financing,
Hmm.
because we are linked to some fund and we have a capacity to finance new project and new building. So if you do that, you need to be strong and responsible. You need to be sure that what you design and what you engineer, you're going to make it. And the responsibility also is a long-term responsibility because when you rent, you're also in charge and responsible for the efficiency of the building, for the OpEx in the building. So this is kind of unique. Today, it's a small scale, because making only
Hmm.
500 million euro, it's not a huge, but it start to be something that could be
Hmm.
interesting and unique position.
And your main interest would be to create decarbonization strategies and then deploy them into the real estate business.
Not only real estate, industrial building, data
Hmm.
center, all this kind of building.
Great.
And also there will be two streams. One is absolutely to make the new building and new project more efficient for the next 50
Hmm.
years. But also I call it the kind of retrofit, to be able to
Yeah.
go into the existing building because we have a huge portfolio of building And
Yeah.
then there's a lot to do in this building to adapt and to improve. So that's why, for example, there has been a quite very interesting investment in a PV cell that can be put on existing building. Because when you want to put PV on existing building, there is an analysis of the weight on the roof
Mhm.
that cannot support. So you need to spend a lot of money and additional infrastructure. So the development and the IP and the patent that has been made by the IDEC Group was to develop a very, very light PV, of course,
PV
a
cell.
little bit more expensive, but avoiding all the mess to remake the calculation from the building existing.
And as we are here also in particular interested in the application areas of hydrogen, do you also see a major role for hydrogen in these decarbonization of this sector?
Of course, there are a lot of early project that can be done. When you are in a truck, and there are some projects in the north of Europe where you have the road for trucks for hydrogen with steel, a GV that was an initiative between Total and Air Liquide to make hydrogen trucks. If you have the building, the logistic, you can make your own filling station.
Mhm.
This is one example. Another example is also the forklift. In all the logistic, forklift can go with hydrogen. There's a kind of depending on the way you use a forklift. You use a forklift on one shift, the battery can work. If you use
Exactly.
a forklift 24/24, the time of recharging, or you need to have two sets of battery, and the one is recharging is a little bit more competitive. And hydrogen is also a potential solution. So there are a lot of different things that can be done when you are in an airport. Maybe, and we see some potential project today in this airport when they have also CO2 and also producing a factory that can produce SAF, synthetic aeronautic fuel. So it can be linked to that. In another example, I will give you where IDEC has invested is a green steel production in Marseille. So you are managing a port, all the infrastructure. So you can also be linked with steel production. Of course, there are a lot of connection between all these assets, and you can optimize all the assets.
Yeah, and what I think might help, because if you work on these infrastructure projects, they normally are investments for a very long time. And then you also have longer time to make it more economically, right? If you want to have a return on investment with new technologies in 5 years' time, it is probably very hard. If you have a project that runs over a long period of time, you probably have also a better opportunity to calculate it, right?
Yeah, yeah, the return, usually when you make a building or this kind of big asset, you think
Yeah,
about 50 years. Huh?
exactly. Yeah.
This is a number. But today, it's very difficult to make business case on 50 years, of course. And because financial institution doesn't like it too much, depend on the security and the insurance that you can get on this infrastructure. And also, when you are at the beginning of technology, it's also been very challenging because you say, oh, I'm going to invest for the next 50 years for technology that in 5 years or 10 years will be uh, will
Will the
change.
technology still work, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, yeah. Is it still working? Is it still the best technology? So there is a kind of good and bad on that topic. But what is good is that you can really start, as you said. You can start and do and develop project, and that can be further implemented.
You mentioned also earlier the topic of data centers, and I think many people are talking about this. I have the sense that investing in data centers is no longer the super hype like 6 months before, when you see how the financing struggles in the US currently are. So, why do you find data centers a particular opportunity for your current business?
When you know how to manage a building, when you know to interact with energy and heat, especially. There's also water, but not so much in data center. But the data center, 40% of the energy is wasted in heat.
Right.
So
And that's an
this
opportunity to use it.
an opportunity to use it. the backup technology as well. Data center does not to stop. And so you can optimize the backup. Do you put battery? Do you put genset? Which kind of genset? And to decarbonize all that stuff. This is where IDEC is very good at, to optimize a building and to interact with what is beside. There are some examples of data center that are making hot water, from the heat, and
Yeah,
distribute the heat to the neighbors. You need
yeah.
to see what is makes economics as well. I agree. You have to be careful, but it could work, and also reducing the CO2 impact. I agree with you. There is a kind of hype of data center, but they will say, we are human. As soon as we are developing a new technology, a new service, we are addicted to that, huh?
Yeah.
And we will develop. We will for sure develop. Maybe not the billions and tens of billions, but there will be something for sure, because we can see the benefit for the society of being supported, and not to replace the people, huh, but to get more support and accelerate.
Yeah, and I think in particular Europe needs more data centers because
To
I
be more
think our
independent, huh?
Europe is wants to be more sovereign, right, with regard to
Absolutely.
compute powers and all these things. Yeah. Okay, so we will be monitoring how you transform the infrastructure sector,
Mhm.
but let's come back to the hydrogen economy as a whole. I think you, despite taking your new job, you have a view on the global hydrogen economy. What is your current take? You mentioned already in the little conversation we had, we need to be bold but also reasonable. So, what is your take on the hydrogen economy as it stands now?
You know, I, it was a wonderful journey. Started hydrogen, I told you, in 1988, so it was some time
Yes.
ago. A lot of things have been achieved, a lot of communication, a lot of network, a lot of understanding. But I did a bit too much the last 3 years, I would say. There was a hype
Mhm.
on the hydrogen that can do everything, like the
Yeah.
Swiss knife. But at the end, is not doing anything good. If you are a Swiss knife, you don't use a Swiss knife like a hammer when you want to really use a hammer, or as a drill if you want to drill a hole. You use a real specific tool. So you need to identify on this Swiss knife that hydrogen can do mobility, storage of energy, chemicals, steel, etc., refinery, ammonia, everything. But you need to be focused on what you can do. And this focus can be different from one region to another. And so it's important to understand that. So it was a big hype, a little bit hype, very positive, I would say. It's not negative, very positive. The market of hydrogen as electrolyzer has been multiplied by 200 in 5 years. There's not
Yes.
a lot of market that multiply by 200 in 5 years. Huh?
Yes.
It's a big, big growth. People seen that, but we need to be careful on where you want to spend, and also the maturity and the development. Making big, huge project at the first moment, it's also a little bit risky. You need to understand that. And also another driver. So there are a lot of initiatives which are very, very supporting. Green ammonia in Morocco, for example. Of course, it makes sense. They have land, they are importing ammonia a lot to get a little bit more independence. It's good. Making green steel in the northern country is good. You have almost free electricity, so you can make green steel out of that. Uh, Green ammonia in Saudi, why not? Etc. So there are a lot of initiatives where you are closer to be economics, because at the end of the day, economics is a is a is a judge,
Prevailing.
yeah,
Yeah.
prevailing. You need to understand also some regulation, because regulation can bias a little bit the economics. If you are forced to do, for example, if tomorrow there is an obligation to put green steel in the cars, you create the market. I believe it's not a problem of cost. Cost is the small variable, because today, if you go to the final product, if you consider, for example, green steel is 500 euro per ton, the traditional steel. Green steel is 20% more expensive, which is a lot, 20%. For the steel manufacturer, they cannot afford having 20% more cost. But if you consider on the final product like a car, you,
Exactly. Yeah.
you have 1 ton of steel, which makes you 80 euro more. So the
Yeah.
customer, like you and me, say, okay, this I can buy. 80 euro more, it's peanuts compared to the 20,000 euro of a car, 15 or 20,000 euro. You can buy it. But we need to make it happen. Same for aeronautics. The synthetic aeronautic fuel costs 3 times more than the traditional fuel. But the 2% from the regulation that started in 2025 is €1 from a flight from Milan to Paris. Okay, €1 I can pay. Honestly, €1 more doesn't hurt me and doesn't hurt anybody, I would say. So there are a lot of understanding on what are the drivers and what it makes economics to the end. And to understand who should play the role in the value chain to make it happen. So there are a lot of initiatives, a lot of projects, but not everything everywhere. Everything everywhere doesn't work.
But on that point, the regulation creates the market. I have the feeling when we look into China, where they have their strict 5-year plans, where they set clear targets and also implementation goals, I think with these 5-year plans, they create a market. But European politicians or stakeholders seem to more work on we recommend, we should, but we are not bold enough to require. Um, is that in these days where other players globally create the market also through regulation a big disadvantage?
Yeah, I like it very much. You know what you said, because I've been in China. I started 25 years ago to be there, and sometimes, you know, it's a funny thing to say, but sometimes it's good to be uh, a unique democracy with the direction.
Mhm.
It's not the 5 years, it's 10 years plan and 15 years plan they have, in fact, and they implement and they review it regularly. But they have a vision at 15 years. This is a vision.
Yeah.
Tell
Yes.
me who has a vision at 5 years in Europe? Nobody.
Yeah.
It's missing a little bit. You know,
Yeah.
uh,
It's issue management, more or less.
yeah, you look at the 6 months, and your next
Yeah.
election and waiting for that, which, and also this is the way we are doing in Europe, and I think it's not good. We need to change, but we don't feel the pain enough yet. I think when we will, I think it will change. We need to change that. So the 5 years plan and also the political decision, because as you said, regulation, but also political decision, which is for me the same. China say we do that, we spend the money, we invest, we develop, we support the factory for PV because we invest in that, and we are competitive. We want to be. I believe we are lacking Europe as a whole. We are not strong enough, and we don't have a clear vision of where we want to be in 10 years, 15 years, and energy should be at the center, because energy, as I was saying at the beginning, is very, very much important. But it will come. I'm convinced we are going to align.
Um, I think there is one thing that might bring this breakthrough, and that is this hydrogen backbone. Because when you look at the concept for the hydrogen backbone, where we have all these pipelines
Yes.
drafted, and I have the feeling, despite some of these projects are slower than expected, it's moving forward. But this is quite a big effort to implement this hydrogen backbone, and it might form a solid base to move from there. But until then, it probably requires bolder decisions.
Yeah, I'm happy that you talk about the European hydrogen backbone, because it's something also I invented some years ago. I
Yeah.
was in Gazuni.
Oh, you invented it.
Yes, I was in Gazuni with Professor Advan and Paul
Okay.
Vanson, and we were
Yeah.
there because there was in Groningen. We were there,
Yeah.
and there was this problem of earthquake due to gas there, and they said we need to use the pipeline again. And I made some study and some analysis, and everybody was saying, no, we cannot use hydrogen in the pipeline, and this is not true. We can use, because if you go back some years ago, the city gas, you know what is the city gas, that was made from coal gasification, was hydrogen at 60%. So people say, "Ah, I cannot use more than 2%, 3%. 60% was used at the time. In Paris area, 100% of the network
Oh,
was
really?
60% of hydrogen. And if you want to look, you go to a small city called Hong Kong.
Uh-huh.
Look at the quality of the gas in Hong Kong, where they are still using town gas, which is made of gasification of coal, and you have 60% of hydrogen. So it's not a technical issue. It's just a
Okay.
matter of regulation. Of course, the usage has to be adapted, because what we were using 60 or 70 years ago changed a little bit, because the heaters, the burners, the industry, etc., they optimize with natural gas, which, by the way, was a very, very good commercial name. You name it natural gas, which is natural, is
Mhm.
good for the society. It
Mhm.
was fossil gas, huh? The
Yeah,
natural gas.
exactly.
The
Yeah.
name was very well defined. But so the hydrogen in the pipeline is 100% sure. And already today, you have thousands of kilometers of hydrogen pipeline in North Europe,
Mhm.
in Germany, in
Yeah.
South of America. So to link industry together. And by the way, I am also supporting one project which is called Barbar, Barcelona, Marseille, the pipeline to bring energy. This will take decades, huh, honestly. It will take time. It's not only this point. We need to understand where the hydrogen is coming from, the source of hydrogen. You don't need to dream that you can make hydrogen for very expensive electricity. Make no sense. You need
Mhm.
cheap electricity. It's not a
Yes.
technical issue. It's just a matter of equilibrium of cost. Technically, it works like the all these kind of chemicals. So we can do it. We can scale it. Yeah, and it's not a matter only of the cost of electrolyzer, because the cost of electrolyzer in the total cost of the hydrogen is very limited. So the energy source is key. The energy source is key.
It's funny that you mention Art van Dijk because I will record with Art a leadership talk tomorrow. So,
Talk to him.
and
We were together in
exactly.
Groningen.
Yeah, and we will because I was so excited to read his master plan, I think in the year 2017, and probably he spoke with you about it,
We
and
were
it
together
was
in
mind-blowing by the
2016.
time.
Together in 2016. He was preparing the master plan, the red book. I remember by sure. And we were together in
Yeah,
Netherlands.
I
So
will send greetings from him greetings to him from you. That this is great. It's a small world. Great. So, but you mentioned also on a global scale these geopolitical shakeups, and when you see the news, in particular coming from the US, you have the feeling that unlike when we had also demonstration for a greener future in Europe or in the world, there is more a trend to go back to fossil fuel, like drill baby drill. Um, is this so also with the energy need of AI bringing us back to the past, or do at least certain countries see this as an opportunity for them
uh,
to go
actually,
green?
I'm always positive and see the
Okay.
opportunity there. So
Yeah.
it's an opportunity. Of course, we are an industrial fight on the world. China, India. Unfortunately, I think Europe lose a little bit of its position, but we need to fight, because
Yeah.
we are smart, we are inventive, and we can bring a lot of things. And US. Uh, this will last a couple of years, but the trend is there. The population want to
It's
decarbonize.
unstoppable.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and the technology will evolve, so we will find solution. So there will be this. It's like a kind of a little peak. Fine, it will go, and we need more energy because we have more population. So the need for energy give also a lot of opportunity for some country, Chile, Brazil, Morocco, India, a lot. So there is a huge potential globally. And also, I would say we need to act and to react, because we still have some power in Europe, which is our market.
Yes.
Let's make it competitive for us, for our benefit. Let's use it as a tool to develop our industry, to develop our technology, to develop our little bit independency. Uh,
Yeah.
because we still have that for the moment. Huh?
Yeah.
We are losing some resources, of course, but we still have the tool. I'm very optimistic about the CBAM. Let's see how it is going to work, because if you want to get into this market, you need to play the role that we want to put in place. And this will be a good opportunity for technology to develop. But
Yeah,
globally,
in
I'm
German.
very optimistic.
Okay, in Germany we have a saying, wer zahlt, schafft an, which means the one who pays dictates the rules. And I recently wrote a column in a hydrogen magazine about it. And I think we should lose this lever. We can dictate the rules, and we are the customer, and the one who wants to sell us something needs to comply with those rules. And we can use this leverage a bit because it's a big market,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. And if you explain, again, communication, explanation to the final user, I think 99% of the people will agree. In
Yeah.
spite of buying 25 t-shirts per week at €5, they buy one at 20 and they save money and they are happy and they bring job, if you understand all that stuff. And if people understand, I think it can really work. It can really work because I think the population want it. So they
Yeah.
want it, but we
But
need
we
to
need
make
to
it clear.
explain it to the society. We need leaders who are passionate, as you are, to explain it to the society to get everybody on board. So there is one little discussion I really remembered, which we had in Dubai, which I find astonishing because you mentioned all these international projects, be it in Morocco, be it in Brazil, and it seems that the route to success for the hydrogen economy is that we produce the hydrogen where we can produce it at the lowest costs, basically where we have sun and wind, and then somehow transport it to the markets in an efficient way to sell it to become cost competitive. And when we were discussing this, how can we transport large quantities of hydrogen over large distances? I mentioned that it seems that everybody is now going for green ammonia. And in the talk that we had, you had a unique view and said to me, no, no, green ammonia is not necessarily the right thing to do. So, can you share your expertise? What do you think will, at the end, be the best way to transport large hydrogen quantities over a very long distance?
Yeah, going back, this is exactly where we need to focus.
Okay.
And it goes back to what I said before, what was a big success of oil and gas, that you can transport and store
Yes.
easily. So this is a big problem. The problem is not to produce hydrogen at a good cost. I don't say competitive cost, at a good cost. You go to Saudi, you can produce hydrogen quite competitive. You go to The problem is not to use the hydrogen.
Yeah.
Cars, fuel cell, burners, gas turbine, etc., etc. The problem is to link all that together, which make it complex. So my idea for the next years, let's focus on what is needed in terms of hydrogen. And that's why I told you, maybe I was not clear, but ammonia is
Mhm.
very, very important.
Mhm.
The NEOM project was discussing, do we make liquid hydrogen? Do we make ammonia? Do we make methanol? And it was turning around for a couple of months because, methanol, you can sell to the market. You have a market. Methanol
Yes.
has a higher value. Liquid hydrogen, you are very much in a complex situation because you don't have the platform. Liquefaction is very costly, energy consumption, etc. So it makes it complex. And ammonia was the one that also has a market. But for the methanol, you need another resource. That would be the resource the most important in the next future, carbon, because you
Mhm.
need carbon. We will
Yes.
need carbon, but we need a good carbon, and we need to recycle this carbon. So the thing that will be limiting all the project will be the carbon in the next future. So uh, the idea is not focus only on transporting this hydrogen. Let's see what are the needs of one country in terms of energy. Look at energy,
Okay.
not hydrogen. And
So
if
think backwards from the customer, basically.
exactly, what do you need? You are
Mhm.
you are an agriculture in France, you need ammonia. You are a steel producer, you need steel, or so there will be again some movement of industry in the world, like always. The industry will move where there is something that is beneficial for them to produce. Like the steel was in Germany. Why? Because at the beginning there was iron ore and coal. So you have the two raw material to produce the steel, and then it create all the industry. So it will move. So ammonia is a very good molecule because on the 200 million ton today we are producing, we can make it green. I'd give you just another small in 1929, something like that. In the 20 before before the Second War, 30% of the ammonia in the world was green. You
Hmm.
know that?
Really?
Yes,
No.
it was green because it was in Norway. In
Yes.
Norway, they were having electricity for free. That's where the green ammonia started. Huh? It was
Yeah,
free.
yeah.
So with this electricity, you make green ammonia.
Yeah, yeah. Klar.
Then the need for electricity in the country increase. People use more electricity, cars, no, electric consumption, the houses, the population grow. So it was the price of electricity start to increase. And then and the quantity of ammonia in the world increased a lot as well. So you cannot supply all the ammonia of the world from Norway. It was not enough. So new plants of ammonia started to be built. And if you build a new plant of ammonia in Qatar, where you have gas for free, you are not going to do it from electricity because you don't have electricity at that time. So you build from
Yeah.
gas. So it moves like that because there is always an equilibrium between the resources you have and the cost. So ammonia is very important. But let's use that ammonia, not to go back to hydrogen now. Let's first
Yeah.
start doing what is simple. You need ammonia, you make ammonia. Methanol is a very important molecule as well, because this is a molecule you can, I would say, quite easily produce from carbon, CO2, and hydrogen, green, clean, whatever, and to produce methanol and to go into the fuel business. Because with methanol, you can fuel a lot of and replace a lot of other molecules. No need absolutely to go to hydrogen. You don't need absolutely to go to hydrogen as a final user application because there is not a lot of that today. So let's start from ammonia, methanol, synthetic fuel, e-fuel, etc. It's so you already a lot that can be done.
This is, I think, if you think about what you're saying in a deep sense, I think the hydrogen economy got it completely wrong because we are building all the hydrogen projects with the hope that we can find off-takers. And then the project starts, and then they have this FID milestone, and then the investors don't see the off-takers and the project is killed. And if you think this through, what you're saying is you should start with the customer and ask him what type of energy do you need, and then we need to search the world for the best way to source and to supply this type of energy needed, right? So we should start the project with the off-taker and not from the technology. This is
But,
what
but,
you're saying.
but this is la palisse, for you say that in English. This is fundamental.
Yes.
You need to understand the market.
Yes.
If you believe that you're going to develop a huge quantity of project gigafactory, I don't say I was upset, but it was not, it's not like that. You need to understand the
Yeah.
market and answer the
Yeah.
market need. And this is
Yes.
what you are saying. You understand the market need. You want to supply ammonia, all these molecules. Green steel is another example. You want to
Yes.
make green steel. Where do I put my new factory of green steel where I have access to energy, low energy, etc., etc.? And then you can identify what is the route. You need to understand the whole chain. Hydrogen is not a liquid market. I would say it's not something that it's not like you put on the market. Say, okay, I'm going to produce hydrogen at 1.5 euro in the kilo, but it's not a liquid market. It's different
And then you
compared
make
to
a LinkedIn post and say who wants it. Yeah. So
yeah,
okay,
and
got
you
it.
on you can ship by Wi-Fi. It doesn't work, huh?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
the,
Okay.
the, the, the- it's different with the oil and gas, and the gas
Yeah.
was a little bit less liquid, but the oil was so liquid. You say, I have this oil at this price, you sell it. The market is huge and someone is buying. So you need to create this trading platform. That's why when we started also in Germany, it was before H2 Global, what you call H2 Bank. You say, let's make a bank that match, but this bank has to be there for a certain period of time. not unlimited. So you try to make it much and then accelerate the market. We need to create a liquid market. For hydrogen, as a hydrogen is quite impossible today. You need to do with other molecules. The easiest way, ammonia, methanol, SAF, e-fuel, maybe e-natural gas, let's see, because the cost is very, very high. But e-natural gas is a little bit more liquid than hydrogen, where it's not liquid. Today, let's see, because there are some projects like the Istra, the ship from Australia to Japan, also that can maybe make it liquid, transform it. But today, the delta cost, the extra cost is so high. So you need to still work on this pathway.
Yeah. Um, you mentioned this funding and this financing. So, what do you think is currently the biggest problem why the hydrogen projects are currently struggling to get the traditional financing they need? What is your experience here? What can we do better?
You give the answer just before. Yeah.
Okay. Without customer, there is no project.
With that market, I would say. A market, a
Yeah.
customer, let's call it like you want. If you
Yeah.
don't identify a market, a volume, and a price, it's not obliged to be unilateral, like a
Uh-huh.
one-to-one, one project, one customer. This, I think, is not, it's maybe the beginning, but this is not making more big market. You need to find a platform. You need to find some kind of platform that can mutualize the project and mutualize the off-takers. But today, there are off-takers for ammonia, there are off-takers for methanol, there are off-takers for SAF, there are off-takers for, there's no off-taker for hydrogen.
Mhm.
Uh, uh,
And what do you think? Does that mean that we have to go into winter mode now with hydrogen, where we have to survive until the market is there, or what can we do to accelerate and create the market?
but I think hydrogen is there. It's
Mhm.
just part of a value chain.
Right.
So it's already there. So repeating what we said before, multiply by 200 the market. Is there,
Yes.
is there. So it's just include that in a value chain. What is
And
my
that's what
hydrogen?
we built.
Yeah, and that's where. And then financing will come. But to understand the full value chain, why I do my hydrogen, because the quantity of hydrogen, the 6 million ton, etc. Europe 30 million ton, 15 imported, etc. Was just made by Excel. It wasn't made by customers. So you need to realize that. Okay, what do I need in Europe?
Yes.
Do I need to import ammonia? Do I need to import methanol, SAF? Or to produce locally? What is going to be produced locally because I have more electricity? Oh yeah, I have wind offshore in the north. I have sun in Spain. So to analyze it globally, and then you understand if the market needs that, you can make the value chain. And hydrogen will be part of it, but part of it. It's not hydrogen as a whole, as I said, is not the Graal. It's a part of it. It's very important part, a very key part of it, but it's part of something.
Yeah. And I very much enjoy the discussion with you. It is very high level, but I want to create basically comfort for our listeners that we are not just talking headlines. So, do you have, let's say, from your past, do you remember some important meetings where you talked with really important people about this, and then action happened afterwards, where you got an agreement? So, yes, this is what we do. Can you share some insights? Because I think what unites all of us in the hydrogen economy is that we want to contribute to make it a market. But it is hard for small companies to have this big impact. So we need to also rely on the big stakeholders, that they are really driven to move the market forward.
I have several examples. I will start from the one when I was in TK and I was visiting Saudi. And by meeting Paddy Padmanathan, the CEO of Aqua Power, Seifi Gazemi, we were together also at the Hydrogen Council because I was part of it. I say, Aqua Power want to develop more renewable. And I believe the future of renewable is going to hydrogen and some chemicals. I was
Is
explaining that to Aqua Power, which I'm sure you know, by the way, now it's growing a
yeah,
lot,
one of the biggest players now.
one of the biggest players. And then with Seifi, which is very much interested in ammonia, say, okay, you want to produce green ammonia, you see a potential future for green ammonia. So we were together and we created green ammonia, green hydrogen project for NEO. So I was
Right.
there, part of it, and make it happen. Very complex, still not finished, but at least it's a kind of flagship. The
Yes.
cost, of course, there is a risk. In every new project, there is a risk. But when we were sitting all together in Neon, spending months and days of discussion and etc., business case, what could be the price? When you have someone that is also ambitious, it's risky, but it's ambitious to say, okay, this project, we are going to produce ammonia as a fixed price for the next 25 years.
Yeah.
Of course, if you look only 6 months, maybe you can find cheaper ammonia because the gas is going down in some area. And because you don't care about the CO2 price. I remember 2016, we were saying, oh, let's imagine the CO2 tax would be 50 euro per ton. Wow, Adamo, you are crazy. We never go to 50 euro per ton. What could be the real price of CO2 tax if we really want to decarbonize? Can be more than that. Huh? And let's imagine the price of gas will be at 30, 20, 30 $40 per megawatt hour. And these are variable. If you do a fixed investment, like renewable, a little bit of storage, Haber-Bosch, ammonia, you are no fluctuation to the price. And this is also a big value for investors because you know exactly the cost for the next 25 years. So this is one
Yes.
example of big project that has a big impact. There was another
Yeah.
one. I was talking about, reducing agent. Iron ore, you need to reduce it to make it steel, iron. And they say, the best reducing agent we have on the planet is hydrogen,
Yes.
antioxidant. So why don't we use it? And it was also in 2016 when I was in TK. We started to discuss with other players, and the seed for H2 Green Seed in Sweden started from that. And ThyssenKrupp supplied the electrolyzer there. So because if you make a plant like that, like H2 Green Seed, it's the same impact on the community to remove 5 million cars.
Yeah, that's massive.
Huh? How many hydrogen cars we have since the last 20 years? Several thousand in the world.
Yeah.
In one plant, 5 million cars.
Yeah.
So it has an
Yeah,
impact.
it's massive.
It has an impact. Of course, challenging every day. Making the plant, the cost, etc., finding the financing, the investor that are, I don't know, let's see, I don't know, it's always a big challenge. But I told you, at the end of the game, hopefully it will be successful. The impact on the car will be peanuts.
Yeah.
Green ammonia, I am a French, I love very much the baguette, The baguette. Yeah, the baguette. 1 euro.
Yeah.
1 euro the baguette. When you buy the baguette
Yes.
at the boulangerie, so the bakery, it's 1 euro. The impact on the price of the baguette using green ammonia as a fertilizer is less than 1 cent on the baguette.
Right. There you go.
So
It's a green baguette then. It's crispy and green.
imagine on the bakery we say, okay, we don't make baguette with fossil.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good selling point.
Good thing. So this green seal is another one, green ammonia, and maybe these are the one I can remember that are another one maybe on the refinery of Total in Normandy, 200 megawatt of electrolyzer to produce hydrogen to go into the process of the refinery, because I believe the refinery will slowly go down, in Europe because of electric mobility coming. So the best one will stay there, and the greenest will stay. So you need to anticipate that decreasing of refinery in Europe and to be as clean as possible. And this is another big example of nice project that has been implemented. So you see, there are a lot of good things in the last 5 years.
So what I sense when I listen to you, and thank you for giving these insights, I think you are a person who can map this out despite being challenging and despite being a complex thing to do. But I think you might work also with people globally that share this passion to build something complex with a lot of impact, right? And you mentioned the CEO of Aqua Power. He probably is also having the same attitude like you, just not doing the normal autopilot business, but to make an impact, right? And this is what should give us comfort that there are also in very powerful positions, good people out there that can make this industry move forward in a significant way, right?
And you can find a lot of, I know some people, I was with Patrick Pouyanné of Total, etc. They are very visionary and they want to do. So they want to do. But on the other side, you still have the rules, of the game of the business. And I think we need to also to accelerate and to spend more time in explaining. As you said, it's complex. And so people doesn't like complex things. People want an answer, and especially the financial institution. They want yes or no. There's no something that is complex. So we need to explain. We need to spend time. I like to do that. Also, I was in a lot of forum for investors, VC, investors, fund that want to understand, which is complex. And they don't like, when it's complex, say, okay, I wait. So we need to understand. And then maybe also to accelerate and to improve the kind of ESG rating. Because once I was in UK, in London, I was saying, if when you compare, when you are a financial company and you want to evaluate the value of companies A and B, where do you see the line ESG? You don't see it as a value in the balance sheet. So it's difficult to evaluate and say, okay, they are doing more, there is a report, there is an ESG report, there is an audit, but how much does it value? So it's quite complex today, but we are progressing. I think there are a lot of things that have been
Yeah.
done by the certification, by the third party that make an audit and see what is the impact of the ESG. And the CO2 emission, the scope 1, 2, and 3, etc., to understand more what is the value of company if they are doing that. And I think we are at the beginning of that. The green finance. I don't like the word green finance, but more clean finance, less impact finance that can get more value for the company that are doing. Because otherwise, it's not fair. At the end of the day, the CEO of a company is they look at the results. Return of investment. That's it. Return on capital employed. That's it. Environment, we don't see. There is maybe another topic which is more for discussing with you. I like it very much. What should be the cost of CO2 emission? What should be the CO2 tax?
Yeah.
Because we are doing, we are not doing, there's a ETS, etc. It's very, very complex today. And we consider that if we put too much CO2 pressure on the industry, they have difficulties in being competitive. It's not a global world of the CO2. So this is also making complex the competition and the fact that company can really jump because they say, oh, if I jump, I die. And my competitor is making profit out of that. So we need to play with the same rule, which is very complex. But as Europe, we should be leader because China is doing, but others are doing. So we need to do it. And I see some common view on that respect in some area, in fact.
Yeah. Okay, great. So what I've learned from today, dear Adamo, is that you are an energy guy, that you don't want to disrupt, but want to help to transition into a better future, be it your company or be it society, that you perceive yourself as a knowledge hub, as an enabler, and that networking is very helpful. I guess that we have touched a lot of topics today, and I hope that many people can see the passion that you have for this industry. And I wish you a lot of luck with your new role as a managing director of your real estate or infrastructure company. So thank you for doing this today, Adamo. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you. It was a pleasure. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah. And so we for those who want to contact you, I think you are very active also in LinkedIn, and I think that you have many contacts. And for those of you who found this dialogue very interesting, please consider subscribing then we can bring great guests like Adamo here on the channel. Thank you very much.